The threat of U.S. military intervention against Canada is real. Under what circumstances would it occur? When President Trump announced his desire to annex Canada as the 51st state, he immediately stipulated that it will not be achieved through military force. And I agree, there will never be an invasion by the U.S. against Canada. So how can I say on the one hand that the threat of U.S. military intervention against Canada is real, and on the other say there will never be an invasion? There's no inconsistency. Military intervention doesn't only mean invasion or aggression by one state against another. Military intervention can also include defensive military action. And by defensive action, I'm certainly not suggesting that the United States will be defending itself from an attack by Canada against the U.S. The defensive military intervention that I'm referring to is the United States defending Quebec from Canada. In my previous video, I explained why if Donald Trump is sincere about annexing Canada, a more effective strategy than tariffs is disunity. If Trump were to actively support the Quebec independence movement, whatever remains of Canada after Quebec leaves will be begging to become part of the U.S. This support will include Trump's assurances to Quebecers that the United States will ease the transition from province of Quebec to nation of Quebec. Quebec will be assured that any existing agreements between the U.S. and Canada will still apply to the new nation of Quebec. Trade agreements, extradition agreements, reciprocal tax arrangements, and so forth. However, a new defense pact will be entered into, and this is key. The U.S. will commit to defend Quebec from any military aggression, foreign or domestic. And as far as Quebec and its allies will be concerned, Canada will be a foreign nation. So, foreign aggression against the nation of Quebec will include any military action that Canada may take in attempting to keep Quebec within Canada. Do not think for one second that any suggestion that Canada would invade Quebec is unimaginable or fear-mongering or some wild conspiracy theory seen on the internet. I would remind you that Canadian military intervention in Quebec has already occurred. The October crisis. In 1970, then Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau invoked the War Measures Act. That happened during my lifetime. Outside my bedroom window, Canadian tanks could be seen lined up on the Trans-Canada Highway. Habeas corpus was suspended. More than 400 Quebecers were thrown in jail. The October crisis is studied by every single child in Quebec's school system. It's part of the curriculum. Now, some 50 years later, it's still an open wound, still very raw, and it's an integral part of any discussion of Quebec nationhood. Many Francophone Quebecers raise the October crisis as proof of Canada's intransigence against Quebec and its right to self-determination. In summary, the threat of U.S. military intervention is real, but may not be the one you first imagined when you saw the title of this video. It won't constitute an invasion by the U.S. military into Canada. It will be to defend what will become the United States' newest ally in the family of nations, Quebec, should their borders and sovereignty be breached. And that won't happen on Canadian soil. It will occur on Quebec soil, and any U.S. troops will be on Quebec's side of the border with guns facing outward. If you want to understand why Canada must end, well, read my book, Why Canada Must End. It's on Amazon. The link is in the description below.